Hi everyone, my name's Abigail. I'm a therapist, counsellor, and a psychic medium with a passion for manifesting. But this video is not about that. This video is about, I want to talk to dads today and our cultural view in the West that we have of dads and dad humor and not taking dads seriously and undermining the role of dads within the family and leading within the family. And no, that doesn't mean that mums are overruled and there's no mums leading. It just means that I think it's really important that men naturally hold leadership in terms of who they are as a man in their family, and leadership means being trusted to make decisions, to provide, protect, and be present. So I'm going to tell you about a situation I had recently. We had some visitors and it was a family. So there was mum, dad, and two little children. And the younger child was probably, I don't know, she might have been about 7. So mum was sitting with the children and dad had gone somewhere, and mum said she was making comments about how many children she had, and she was saying she was counting dad as an extra child, and she was telling the girl child, like, yeah, I have an extra child, don't I? And the girl child was just watching her and taking it in. And I think, and this is also a mum who probably does way too much and needs to like learn to trust a little bit more. I think for me, the issue is like, this is a pretty common thing for mums to say, to treat dad as a child, and for dads to treat themselves as a child, or to kind of have that perception in a way. Even recently, I was listening to a video by Gabor Mate, and he was saying that he was aware of when his wife had children, that he became that child too. And I think there's multiple layers to that we probably need to discuss. So first of all, I'm going to say, much as it might seem a light comment, and there's so much dad humor, and we always see movies where dads are portrayed as the character that is always making mistakes, wandering, can't be trusted with anything. And we have a cultural shift, unfortunately, away from giving dads credibility. And while it might seem a joke and fun and light and humorous, on other levels it's actually pretty serious, I think, because it's undermining. Like, imagine if we had a culture that just joked that mums were not very good at what they do and we can't really rely on them and only dad can really bring up the kids. Like, I don't know that we'd be finding that acceptable, and all the feminists would be outraged and all the rest of it. So let's think about this. First of all, let's think about this. So mum said, I have another child. So what that kind of implies is that she can't rely on her husband. She can't trust him, and he's not stepping into that role. And look, let's not get into any blaming, but what I think is that it's really important for women, and I'm going to say this, I know this from an energetic perspective, for women to be in their receiving energy and receiving mode, so they can allow men to do their part. And also, I think it's really important that women acknowledge when men are doing what they want, because women are quite clear about what they want and need, but they're not as probably good at reinforcing the positives when it does happen. I think culturally we've come to a place where we reinforce the negatives of what's not happening, and unfortunately people get a bit frozen in negatives. So I think that for men that means that, oh, okay, you don't want me to do that, but then they don't quite know what to do. Whereas I think if the traditional thing of working on praise, you were to praise more of what you do want and recognize it and reward it and ignore what you don't want, that would be helpful. Because I think what happens for, like, let's go back to this mum, is she's overwhelmed. She's overwhelmed, and she just thinks that she's the only one that can pull everything together, be trusted to make the big decisions, and can't rely. And at the end of the day, she's going to end up exhausted, unwell, and just like burn out. But more important than that, what I saw was this little child watching her and taking it all in and accepting what she says, because she's a child. She has to take authority from her parents, and that's what she learns about the world. And while she might get different messages later on, what we know about the brain is everything under 7 is really the programming wiring for life. So if mum's telling her, this, your dad's a child, she's not going to look at her dad up there as dad's provider, protector, safety. And yeah, she still will in some levels, but for mum, in his relationship with mum, she'll go, oh, he's not adequate. And so what she'll do is she'll mirror that when she goes out as a teenager to find someone for herself. She'll do the same thing, because that's what she knows is safe in her environment and what she's learned. She might on the surface go, this actually isn't right, but you go to what your programming says, not what your logical thinking says, because you're programmed as a child into what you will want and what you will do. So I think it's actually pretty significant. So then how do we change it? How do we change it? And as men, how do you change it? And I think what we need to do is we separate facts from emotional statements. Like, that's an emotional, unjust statement that has a lot of charge to it. But if your partner's saying to you, you're like one of the children, then it's easy to react to that defensively or emotionally. The only way that won't happen is if you go to facts. Always ask for examples. Give me an example. Let me understand. Tell me when I did that, and listen. Because when one person throws out an emotional statement, it's usual for the other party to respond emotionally, and that's where we get fights and all the rest of it, or shut down and all the rest of it. If you can every single time ask for an example and be curious, like just ask for an example, listen and be curious, and go think about it. Because examples, we need the example to be factual. So when you did this, it seemed like you were a child or whatever, but you can't argue with facts. So listen to facts. You can argue with the interpretation of facts, but if someone can understand, if they've given meaning to your actions that weren't your intention, then if you can get facts, get understanding of why this person has this view of you, be curious, get information, take it away, go back and be calm, because you're never going to win, self-respect with yelling and screaming and all the rest of it. But if you can calmly go back and go, let's talk about this. This is what's actually really happening. And I think that's what I took away from watching the Gabor Mate video as well, where he was saying that he was aware that he was acting childlike when his wife had children. And I think, or I wonder if it's actually because a man's role is to provide and protect. I wonder if he's actually feeling the depth of that nurturing that's taking place in his family and going, I wouldn't mind some of that. But also on another level going, this is what I need to protect. This is why I'm a man in this family. This is what I provide for. This is why I keep the world away from this, because it's sacred. So I wonder if it wouldn't have been helpful for him to have a partner or wife who said to him, when you do this, or for him to ask for examples. If she got upset, ask for examples, because you can't fix feelings with other feelings usually, because you come up with defensiveness and, flight, fight, freeze, fawn, all the rest of it. So overall, I think what would be really helpful is for men to not allow themselves to be less than a leader in their family. So I say this all the time, but let's look at it from a family therapy perspective. You have dad, mum, and the children underneath. The dad and the mum, that's a role. The role is dad or the role is mum. The role comes with a list of responsibilities. And that's what you need to accomplish to hold that role. If you don't do your list of responsibilities, like this mum in this situation saw herself up here, but what she did was she pushed dad down here with the children. So what she was saying is he's not doing his responsibilities. Or was he and she was choosing not to see them because she had a life where she wasn't used to trusting anybody or letting anybody close? That's where you have to have a factual conversation. And what happens, this is another thing, if you have mum and dad, they have a role, a list of responsibilities. If one of them doesn't do it, so say dad's a drinker, he does slip down here because he's not doing his responsibilities. One of the children will step up next to mum to parent. So what you want to do is put the child back down here and you want to put dad back up here. So in this situation, if you're wanting to move forward from this culture we have of undermining men as dads to be jokes, then start getting curious and take it away. Think about it. Deal with facts, not feelings, facts, and find examples and own your leadership in your family so that you can be trusted, because leadership, a man in leadership is a man who can be trusted to lead. Trusted to lead means we can lean on you for decision making. We can lean on you for what the jobs that you need to do each week, for providing, protecting, for following up when you say you will. So if you're a man and you're stepping into that, but your female partner, your woman, is saying, well, dad's just like one of the children, you need to get very curious very quickly and get facts and address that and be really reflective with yourself. Am I doing that? Am I not doing that? So, and the reason is because we want your children to grow and have really strong templates for healthy, committed relationships where there's equal understanding of who has what role. So if you have any questions about this, or if you want some coaching on how to make your particular relationship different, how to approach it, how to understand it, how to unpack it, if you just have a feeling that it's not sitting right with you or how you want it to be, then it probably would be ideal for us to have a session. So I do video coaching sessions, I do video therapeutic sessions, and yeah, just I'll leave my details below. I hope this was clear. So I'm kind of saying that the culture we have of undermining men with jokes and not giving them their rightful place in the family, it's detrimental on so many levels. And as men in your family, you need to put a stop to that and own your leadership and own your masculine role. Okay, thank you.